So you're considering investing in the Tampa Bay market in a short-term rental. I'm going to give you the 5 things that you probably don't know about that 100% could completely mess up your investment if you don't know about them. And unfortunately, you can't count on your realtor to know them because not all realtors in the area are really knowledgeable about all this. And so it's very easy to get bad information, so make sure you watch this video to the end. And as always, if you ever have any questions, whether you're looking to invest or move into the area, feel free to call, text, email us, myself and my team. We're more than happy to give you some advice. All right, so getting right into it. Number 1, each town or city often has its own set of rules. Now, the Tampa Bay area is basically all of the land that kind of touches the water. It touches the Tampa Bay water. All of the land is part of Tampa Bay. But the problem is there's multiple cities. You've got bigger cities like Tampa and St. Pete and Clearwater, but then you also have smaller towns too, like all the towns on the beach, or Seminole, or Dunedin, or Palm Harbor. And all of these towns have different rules when it comes to short-term rentals. So you can't just look at what the county says. You can't just look at Hillsborough County. You can't just look at Pinellas County, or you can't just look at Manatee County. You have to know also what the ordinances are in the city and zoning-wise where the property falls. So this is one big issue that I see people run into is A, it's not that easy to figure it out yourself if you don't know it, and B, most realtors, like I said, don't know this. So it's just one of those things where good information hasn't necessarily gone all the way around. It's hard to look up. And when I talk about the other 4 mistakes too, it kind of leads into this too, how it makes it tough to figure this stuff out. So you've got to be wary of each town and make sure that the specific place you're going in allows short-term rentals. Number 2, looking on Airbnb is super misleading in Tampa Bay. What I mean by that is if you go on Airbnb, whether it's in the, let's say, Clearwater market, for example, you might think Clearwater allows short-term rentals all around the area because there's loads of short-term rentals there. But the fact of the matter is that they don't. And there's a specific area within Clearwater that they allow for these short-term rentals because there's also hotels and motels in that area that are doing short-term rentals. But if you're just looking at Airbnb and saying, oh, well, there's these few properties that have been doing short-term rentals, they got good reviews, they're making good money, I'll invest in one there. Again, you talk to a realtor and they don't really know what they're talking about. You can end up buying a property based on a short-term rental valuation, which is here, or maybe let's say $700,000, when you could only really rent it out on a longer-term basis, and maybe now that property is really only worth about $600,000. So that's a problem. And Airbnb is really not the source of you figuring out which areas in Tampa Bay you can do an Airbnb in and which areas you can't. Because most of the time, it is a violation system where it's only done by reporting. So a neighbor's got to report them. And if a neighbor doesn't report them, they kind of been operating under the radar. Coming in at number 3 is you can't trust the cap rates. And what I mean by that is when you see listings in the Tampa area, you'll see cap rates that agents put on it. But the problem is you can't trust them because they're often based on much lower operating expenses than are going to be realistic. Now, the things that they're going to shortchange you on, they're not going to be fully accounting for is number 1, new taxes. So once you buy the property and the property gets reassessed, maybe the person's owned it for a long time, now it gets reassessed at a higher value, your taxes are gonna go up, and that's going to really affect what your return is. If your taxes double, I would say that's gonna affect your return. Another thing they'll shortchange too will be something like management or money for reserves, right? You gotta budget money towards capital expenditures that are gonna come up, or money towards supplies for your Airbnb, money towards furniture that's gonna get worn out. And then also management too. If they're running it themselves and not accounting for a 20% management fee, well, again, that's gonna make a big difference to your return. So unfortunately, number 3 is you can't trust the cap rates that you see published. And I'll give agents some slack in the sense that sometimes it really isn't an honesty thing as much as it is a competency thing. So again, you just have to work with an agent who can accurately guide you in this market. And like I said, if you're looking to invest in this market, feel free to reach out to us. Myself and my team would be happy to work with you. Number 4, which is something I've talked a little bit about, agents aren't always informed. Like I said, this information isn't as clear cut. It's not like, okay, if you're on the Pinellas County side, here's your rules. If you're on the Hillsborough side, here's your rules. It does come by a city basis. And I often get asked by other agents about the short-term rental restrictions because it's tough for them to remember all of them for each city and each area. Now, one rule of thumb that I will give you, even though again, it's just a rule of thumb, and what you really need is you need an agent who's experienced in this, is if you're in an area where other people are doing it on a commercial basis, where you have hotels and motels that are renting on a nightly area, if you're on the same street as them, right, you really gotta be very close. You can't be a few blocks in a residential neighborhood. You've gotta be pretty much in line with those properties. Then most likely you can also rent out on a short-term basis, because they can't have a double standard. They can't let these motels and hotels rent out on a nightly basis, and then you've got, a duplex 3 doors down and they say no to you. Now again, this is really just a rule of thumb though. What you really need is you need an agent to help you decipher this. Lastly, coming in at number 5, but just as important, is what I like to call the sea of sameness. And this sea of sameness is basically what is going to differentiate your Airbnb from all the others on the market. Because especially if you're buying a property that doesn't have concrete numbers, right? You're buying it based on a pro forma. Then if you're just going to try to rent out a 3-bed, 2-bath in Tampa, that's no different than any others. You don't have a specific avatar in mind in terms of, okay, here's the persona of people that are gonna be renting this place, and here's how we're going to make it perfect for them. Then it's gonna be hard for you to have a competitive advantage, and you just might have to end up competing on price, and it might not end up being as profitable as you hoped it to be. So going back to that sea of sameness, make sure you're very strategical in your approach to your Airbnb and have a specific plan, and don't just think you could throw anything up on Airbnb and it's gonna make good money. I've definitely seen loads of properties that I saw go off market and being sold as an Airbnb come back to market a year or two later because the person didn't really know what they were doing and they didn't really work with someone who was giving them the right guidance. So there you go, that is my top 5 quick list. Let me know what your thoughts are. Go ahead and comment them below. If you've had experiences operating Airbnbs in the area, what you're looking for, what you see the biggest mistakes are that people make, I'd love to hear about them, and we can all chat about them below. As always, if you like this video, smash the like button. It lets me know that this is helpful to you and for me to make more videos like this for you. And as always, if you're looking to learn more about the lifestyle of living in Tampa Bay, investing in Tampa Bay, or what it's like being a team leader of a real estate team here in Tampa Bay, subscribe to my YouTube channel where we make new videos weekly. And don't hesitate to reach out via phone, text, or email if you'd like some real estate guidance. That's it for me today. So until next time, this is Connor Green. Have a blessed day.